Hello everyone, iampeppino here, back for more Kerbal Space Program Conquering the Solar System. And last episode we landed two more moon bases, and we sent a ship to Minimus, and that has paved the way for this mission. We are going to land and set up a base on Minimus, and we have Luke and Jokas Kerman, who are both on the moon right now. We have their clones here, and they will be the crew that we are dispatching to Minimus. So I've set it up where we are burning in the general direction that I'm hoping to get a Minimus encounter by just going straight towards it, basically. So we fire up our engines as we've gotten up out of the atmosphere now, and we're on our second stage of engines, just burning, and hopefully it's going to be enough. And we had a little explosion there, but nothing too major, nothing actually broke. That was important. So we keep burning out, and there it is. It actually worked out perfectly. We managed to get a Minimus encounter on the first try, and we'd actually get a moon encounter on the way back if we didn't do anything, which is also kind of cool. So we are burning straight towards Minimus, and we're about to get out there, and there we go. We skip to our encounter now, and Fraps was skipping a tiny bit last episode and this episode. I'm not sure why, but that's fine. It's not too big of a deal. You don't miss anything. You just missed us getting out the last half second before we had our encounter. But there's the encounter, so we'll bring down our periapsis very low to Minimus. And then what I want to do is circularize the orbit and land on the frozen lake that we landed our unmanned ship on last time, because that's going to be the best spot on Minimus for a flat surface, so that we can set up a decent base, because you don't want to be on hills too much really while doing that. And so there we go. We just do a couple burns and change our orbit around a little bit. After a couple maneuver nodes, we have a fairly circularized equatorial orbit that should bring us above the frozen lake there, as you can see from here on Minimus. We're just going to want to bring that down right there and land right on that frozen lake. So here we go, just one more maneuver node just to get us right above our target landing destination. And done. So that's close enough to our maneuver node, and so we can get rid of it and get ourselves directly above the frozen lake area, lake bed, whatever you want to call it, ocean even, if you compare it to the size of the rest of Minimus. It's pretty large. And now just got to get right above it and burn to get a nice soft landing on the tiny ice moon. Now we still have a lot of fuel left. We haven't used any of our fuel of our landing craft yet, and this lander is going to be able to return to Kerbin at some point if we need it. But these guys are going to be staying and living on Minimus for a while and doing lots and lots of experiments, so we don't need to worry about bringing them back just yet, and you'll see how my design works out here. What I've got designed is for it to drop a permanent base on Minimus, as well as being able to return the crew back to Kerbin. And you'll see that in just a second once we come down for our actual landing. And there we go, as we time warp a lot and we get down closer and closer to Minimus. We are going to be coming down right on that frozen lake, right where we wanted to. So it's going to work out just perfectly as far as that goes, and we've still got some fuel in that big tower. You never want to waste fuel if you don't have to, so I'm going to use that to kill a bunch of our velocity coming down, so we come down for a nice soft landing. So we'll fire up the engines here just a little bit, enough to where we're coming down at about 30 meters per second, at which point we are out of fuel, so we drop it. And that's going to just crash into the surface and shouldn't matter too much. But, alright, you see we've deployed our landing legs and we've got 2 sets of them. And you'll see why here. And we are going to be able to, once we land, assuming everything goes well, drop a permanent base down that can house 4 kerbals, and they can do their experiments here and whatnot, and whatever their heart desires for them to do on Minimus. So as you can see, the tower of fuel that we just had is about to crash, and there it goes. Crashed into the surface of Minimus and exploded. I'm assuming it exploded at least. It's not likely to survive that. But now we can fire up our nuclear rockets and kill some of our lateral movement, and then we should be going straight down towards the surface, and we are about 2,000 meters up, and the surface is actually right at about 0, which we know from landing that first ship here, which is not too far away. As you can see, it's over there about 15 kilometers away. And so now we're down at 1,000 meters, and we're going to slow ourselves down very nicely to right around under 10 meters per second, which is how you want to land it. And so here we go, bringing it down. We're at about 500 meters now, and we're going at a perfect speed to come in for a nice soft landing. And here we go. Now this is being watched in real time. The whole mission so far had been sped up, but we'll watch the landing in real time. And we're going at 6 meters per second. Jokas and Luke are very excited. Everything is going according to plan, as we can see our shadow coming into view. Down below 200 meters now. And the whole crew is excited, mission control is excited, everyone is excited, as everything is going according to plan for our Minimus base, which is actually, once you get out to orbit Minimus, even easier to land on than the moon due to the extremely low gravity. It'll be interesting to see how that affects the kerbals once they get out. The crew is excited to test that, one of their many scientific tests that they will be doing on Minimus. And we're down now below 70 meters, and our shadow is coming in very close. And here we go, preparing for touchdown. Luke and Jokas going to be the first kerbals on Minimus. And here it is, and landing, and we bounce due to the low gravity, but that's perfectly fine. We actually even bounced twice, but again, perfectly fine. So here's what we do now. We decouple this and fire up our engines. So we leave our base right there. That's going to be the permanent base and housing for any kerbals doing experiments on Minimus. And we fire up into the sky, and I actually held the throttle down too long. I pushed the wrong button. Didn't mean to throttle up that much. But we are well above the surface now. We're just going to use RCS to shift ourselves over to the side a little bit so that we come down for landing right next to our base with our lander, and so that we're going to be able to set up a very nice and nice looking Minimus base, or colony. I wouldn't call it a colony just yet. It's not that impressive, but maybe we'll get there at some point. Hopefully we will. And Luke and Jokas still very happy as they come down a few meters away and bring it down for a nice landing. They bounce twice as well before finally coming to rest on the icy surface of Minimus. So we take a look at our lovely, well-executed Minimus base, and it's time to EVA these guys and let them explore the surface. Now we'll drop the ladders here and get the crew out. Luke Kerman will hop out, and here he goes down the ladder onto the surface of Minimus. We've now had a kerbal on the surface of 2 different moons, and you run very slowly on this one. He kind of hops and he jumps and is incredibly surprised by how high he goes. You go high enough due to the low gravity that they could just jump right over the landing vehicle, which is incredible. So, naturally, we'll try the jetpack. That'll be even better, but then he realizes, I don't need this jetpack. So he jumps right over the landing vehicle. It's incredible how low the gravity is here on Minimus, and using a jetpack you could get pretty much anywhere with relative ease. So jumps up again and straps on his jetpack, and he's going to fly over and check out the permanent Minimus base that will remain here forever, even when eventually their experiments are done and the lander goes back, but he can't resist doing a few tricks and spins along the way. So, after Luke has had his fun, it's time to go and drop the ladder on this Minimus base here, and he has to use his jetpack to come in for the correct landing. So he's just going to hop in. Oh, and he hits his head on the landing leg, and he's alright though. He hops back up, shakes it off, and does a little moonwalk on Minimus backwards, and he hops up, and he's got to try get in this thing now with no ladder, but that's not too much of a problem until he slips for a second and falls down right on his head. But he figures it out, and again just uses the nice jetpack to get up there and grabs onto the ladder and slips almost, but eventually gets in. So now we have solar panels and everything ready to expand, but we cannot do it because of a fatal flaw in the design. There's no probe on this, and I forgot that even with a kerbal inside, you cannot use this habitat thing to control anything. So we can't actually extend the solar panels or the ladder. Luckily there is generators that will keep the base running for decades, and hopefully by then we will have a new source of power here, if there are kerbals even still living at this base. But we take a look up at the sky from Minimus, and it's incredible. It's an incredible feeling. He's the farthest away that kerbals have been from Kerbin, at least so far. We have plans to go even farther. But either way, we decide it's a good time for a photo shoot to send back to Kerbin to let Mission Control know that everything is going well and the crew is safe. So they take a nice greeting card picture, just like that, of them standing in front of the landed base on Minimus. Luke and Jokus say hi. And then I decide, hey, why not bring that first ship, since we have enough fuel, and fly it over and land it near the base. If for no other reason, it makes it look more impressive to have 3 ships landed all close together, and flying things around on Minimus is incredibly easy due to the low gravity. So these landers actually wouldn't be terrible for Minimus missions, but for the moon, like I said, they aren't really suited. But we'll bring this lander over, and it takes a little bit to get the 15 kilometers, but it's not too bad. As you can see, they were just across a little ridge on the frozen ocean, but after a while we get over, and we're about 5 kilometers away, going fairly fast, and the problem is going to be killing the lateral movement. With such low gravity, this landing could be a little more difficult here, but either way, it'll be hopefully alright. And hopefully we can get a third ship parked nice and neat next to our Minimus base. And again, this would be another ship that, for sure this one on Minimus, they could take up into orbit if they needed to. If there is ever a kerbal left behind, which we may do actually at some point, is leave either Luke or Jokas here to conduct experiments while the other takes the lander back to Kerbin. But that's for the far future. These guys are going to be doing experiments here for a while before either of them leave, so we don't have to worry about that yet. And so what we're going to do is try bring this one down for a nice landing. And I don't know that this has enough to get back to a nice orbit around the Earth, but if we got them up into orbit around Minimus, we could always send a ship to pick them up, and that wouldn't be too much of a problem. But, alright, here we go, and see, now this is what I mean, just a little thrust goes crazy, and we almost crashed there, but managed to not. And, yeah. See, that is the slight problem with the low gravity, is just tiny amounts of thrust are just insane. So I think I'm gonna start using nuclear engines a lot more for the Moon and Minimus, because the lander that we had here used nuclear engines and it was very, very good. I liked it a lot. So that's a design that we'll probably see a lot in the future. Although we still have 2 landers on the Mooner fleet, or the Mooner station, whichever you prefer to call it, that we have to land yet. And we're going to hope that those can bring some crew members down to our moon base, but that's for later. Now, we have to land this thing on Minimus, and I'm not actually going that fast, this whole thing is sped up again. But here you can see, come in for a nice landing there, do the little bounce, but that's pretty far away, so I try to get us a little closer, at least, and end up almost screwing up a lot, only screwing up a little, which little screw-ups, yeah, they're not so bad. It's a good thing that NASA doesn't have that attitude, but here at Kerbal Space Program, we pride ourselves on our little mistakes. As long as we don't kill our Kerbals, everything is fine. And so here we go, we are up above the base, and now we have to kill our lateral velocity, in which we almost crash into the base, and we don't want that. So now we bring it down and try to land, but we bounce because we had a lot of velocity, so we're back up in the sky, farther away than we want to be. So we got to burn to bring it around, and we'll bring it down now for a nice landing, hopefully. But we realize a problem. We're going to land right on our Kerbal's head, so we throttle up and miss them just barely. And now we bring it down for landing and touchdown. We are safe. We are close enough for my liking. And we've now got 3 ships right there on Minimus, all very, very close together. So that is a pretty darn good Minimus base, considering we've only had 1 mission here to Minimus, really. We sent 1 other to Minimus, and so it's time to take an updated greeting card and send it back to Mission Control so they can print in the newspapers that Kerbals have colonized both moons of planet Kerbin. It is a great day for the Kerbal Space Program in general. So, after a nice quick photo shoot, who's taking the photos, I haven't the slightest clue, but either way, they get a photo shoot, and now it's time to get them back inside their bases so they can begin conducting their scientific experiments. So, thank you guys for watching. This has been iampeppino, and make sure to join me next time as we continue to colonize and conquer the solar system in Kerbals Space Program. So again, thank you guys for watching. Remember to subscribe for more awesome videos, and as Jokus enters back in there, we will see you guys next time. Bye-bye.